Hello everyone, this is Professor Robert Solis. Welcome to our next video lesson. We're going to be continuing our discussion about the while statement, and what we're going to do is we're going to create a problem that displays Fibonacci numbers. So what I want to do is I want to cut the video right here and take you to another video that I did that basically explains what a Fibonacci number is, and then we'll go ahead and continue after the video. So here's the video, check it out. Hello everyone, this is Professor Robert Solis, and this video is going to help you understand the Fibonacci series program, at least how to approach being able to do something like this. So the first question, I assume, is then what is a Fibonacci series? Well, check this out. In mathematics, the Fibonacci numbers are a sequence of numbers named after Leonardo of Pisa known as Fibonacci. The first number of the sequence is 0. The second number is 1, and each subsequent number is equal to the sum of the two previous numbers of the sequence itself. So for example, we have 0 as the first Fibonacci number. 1 is the next Fibonacci number. Now check this out. What we do is we add the first two numbers, and then therefore we come up with the third number, which is 1, right? So the first Fibonacci number is 0. The second Fibonacci number is 1, and then the third Fibonacci number is 1. At this point, what we'll do is we'll add the next two Fibonacci numbers, and as you can see, 1 plus 1 is equal to 2. And then, once again, we add the next two numbers, 1 plus 2, that's equal to 3. And then we do the same thing again, 2 plus 3 is equal to 5, 3 plus 5 is equal to 8, 5 plus 8 is equal to 13. So I think you get the idea. You're always adding the previous two numbers to get the next Fibonacci number. So in this case, 8 plus 13, that's going to be 21. And then, of course, 13 plus 21, that's going to equal to 34. All right. Now, from a program development perspective, how should we approach something like this? Here's what I recommend. Now, this is not the way of doing it. This is a way of doing it. What I recommend is that we create two variables. One we're going to call first num. So we create this variable, first num, and I'm going to assign it equal to 0. Second num, I'll assign it to number 1. So if I were to ask, what is the first num of the Fibonacci number? That's going to be assigned to 0. The second num of the Fibonacci number, that's going to be assigned to 1. Well, now watch what we're going to do. So what I'll do is the third num, we'll set that equal to the third number of the Fibonacci series. And now watch what happens. When I want to find out the next number in the Fibonacci series, did you see how I shifted everything over to the right? So basically, first number becomes 1, second number becomes 1, third number becomes 2. So in other words, what we're doing is we're swapping these values, right? So first number now is 1, second number is 2, third number is equal to 3. And by doing this, these three variables are all that we need in order to be able to determine the Fibonacci numbers in the Fibonacci sequence. So again, we're just going to be shifting these over. All right, so basically here's what's happening. Okay, let me show you over again, but in the form of a table. So notice this table has first num, it has second num, and it has third num. Now, as you can see here, the value of first num, it's pointing to 0, so therefore I put it into 0, this cell for the table. Second num is equal to 1. Third num is also equal to 1, so that belongs here. All right, so now what I'm going to do is ask the question, what is the fourth number in the Fibonacci series? Well, obviously it's 2, but notice what's happening here. What we're going to do is we're going to say second num is going to be assigned to first num, third num is going to be assigned to second num, and first num plus second num will be equal to third num. Okay, so that's what we have for our equations. So check this out. When I shift everything over, as you can see over here, now first num is going to equal to second num, second num is going to equal to third num is going to be the addition of these two. So that's exactly what's happening in this table. Let's watch it again. So again, when I shift everything over, notice what happens, right? First num is going to be assigned whatever second num is. So second num is 1, so we put 1 in first num. Third num is going to be assigned to second num, so the value of third num gets assigned to second num. And then third num is going to be the addition of first num plus second num. Well, 1 plus 2 is equal to 3. And then, of course, graphically, you can see what's happening over here. Let's do it again. So as you can see over here, First num is going to be assigned whatever second num is. Second num is going to be assigned whatever third num is. Third num is equal to the addition of first num plus second num. And one more time, as you can see here, third num is going to be the addition of these two. Second num goes into first num. Third num goes into second num. All right, so I think you'll, from this graphic, from this table, and then from this equation, you'll see how using these three variable names, that is first num, second num, and third num, we are able to determine the Fibonacci sequence. All right, so let's take a look at this table. There's something special about this first num column. Well, first of all, notice that this is currently displaying the first Fibonacci number. And it's going to display the first two Fibonacci numbers if I wanted to. Or if I wanted to see the first three Fibonacci numbers, I can see those. So are you getting the idea? This column has every single Fibonacci number. The first Fibonacci number is 0. The next one is 1. The next one is 1. The next one is 2. The next one is 3, so forth and so on. See, the second column variable and the third column variable do not contain all of the different Fibonacci numbers in the different positions within the series. But the first num variable, as you can see, it's always going to contain the next Fibonacci number. So that's something interesting to observe. So if I wanted to display the first Fibonacci numbers, again, notice that this variable, first num, contains all of those variables. And then lastly, of course, if I wanted to say, show me the first 5 Fibonacci numbers, as you can see, the first num variable will display all of the appropriate Fibonacci numbers. So, to help us and to help you with this program, here's the flowchart of how you will approach this program. Well, first, when we start the program, we're going to ask the user how many Fibonacci numbers they want to see. Once we've determined how many they want to see, we have a question to ask. Now, by the way, the diamond can be either used for a selection statement or for a repetition statement. So in this case, it's going to be a repetition statement, like a while statement. Why do I know that? Because notice that it comes back to the diamond. So anytime you see a looping back, this is going to be a loop. As you can see, my mouse pointer is looping around in a circle, right? If we didn't come back into this, then this would be an if statement. So in this case, anytime you see a diamond, the question is it an if statement or is it a while statement? Is it a selection structure or a repetition structure? All right. Well, in this case, here's the question we're going to ask. Are all the Fibonacci numbers displayed? So if the user says, I want to see 5 Fibonacci numbers, well, have we displayed all 5 of them? If we have not, then we calculate and display the next Fibonacci number, and then we ask the question again, have we displayed all the Fibonacci numbers? Nope, we haven't. Okay, so we need to do this again. We keep on doing this as long as we have not, that's why it says false here, as long as we have not displayed all the Fibonacci numbers. Once we have displayed all the Fibonacci numbers as requested by the user, then we'll say that's true, and that's the end of the program. So this is the flowchart that we're going to use to be able to determine how many Fibonacci numbers we want to see displayed on the output. All right, so now after the video, you get an idea of first of all, what a Fibonacci number is, and then also how we're going to be able to solve for it. So the first thing you're going to do is to create a form that asks the user how many Fibonacci numbers they want to display. They're going to place that number here. When they click the Display Fibonacci Numbers, then it's going to list all of those Fibonacci's here. So in this case, the user wants to see 10 Fibonacci numbers, so 0, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, and 34. Those are the first 10 Fibonacci numbers. I already explained this whole concept of basically the Fibonacci number is the addition of the previous two numbers. So I'll let you read the handout, and then also in terms of the software requirements, we have these names are here for the different controls. We're going to remove the minimize, maximize button, and then we're going to associate the enter key, the enter button on the keyboard with the button on the form, which is display Fibonacci numbers, this button right here. All right. So what I've done is I've already created the template or the graphical user interface. The name of the project is VB Lab Project 9. This form, the text property, as you can see, is Fibonacci numbers. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the accept button property so that it has a relationship with BTN display fib nums. So pressing enter on the keyboard or clicking this button both do the same thing. This text must have a name that is txt user num. This button, we're going to call that btn display fib nums. This label, we're going to call it LBL result. The form, as you can see in terms of the size, I've created my form to be 400 points by 215 points. I took away the minimize and the maximize button, so that just simply means max box and minimize box. We're going to set that equal to false. And I think that's about it. Okay. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to double click on the display Fibonacci numbers button so that we can begin to code. Let me minimize the properties panel because I don't need that. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to have some declarations. We're going to get the user input. We're going to calculate the Fibonacci numbers. And then we're going to display the output. So that's the general idea of our program. Well, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to declare several different variables. Well, first of all, I'm going to need to get the user input. So I'll create a variable called user num. And we'll declare that as an integer. And then, based on the video that you saw, we're going to create three variables. One is called first num as integer, so that'll be equal to the first number of the Fibonacci series. Second number, or second num, that's going to equal to the second number of the Fibonacci series. And then I'm also going to have a third num variable, and I am not going to assign that to the third number of the Fibonacci series yet. We'll leave that as is. I'm also going to be going through a loop, so I had better create a counter variable as integer. And then I'm going to create an output variable as a string data type and set it equal to nothing at first, so equal to quote quote. So the idea here is all of the output will be sent to this output variable, which is going to be holding a bunch of strings, namely the Fibonacci numbers. And then when I'm finished, I'll assign this to the label, which is this guy down here, LBL result. Alright, so that's what we're going to do. Well, let's go ahead and obtain the user input. So to do that, we're going to say user num is basically going to equal to, let's convert this to an integer, in 32. And again, whatever's inside that text box. So, obtain the text from the text box, convert it to an integer, and put it into the variable user num. Well, once we've done that, now we can go ahead and calculate the Fibonacci numbers. Well, first of all, what I need to do is I want to make sure that I'm counting the appropriate number of times. So I'm going to set counter equal to 1. I'm going to initialize it to 1 at this point. And then within my while statement, I'll say, as long as count is less than or equal to user num, press enter. Alright, so at first, let's say that the user number is 10, right? I think in the example from the handout, they wanted to see 10 Fibonacci numbers. Okay, well, we're going to ask, is this number less than or equal to the user number? If that's the case, if it's true, then we're going to go into the while block and execute the code that's going to be typed in here in just a moment. If it's not true, then we jump out of the code. Alright, well, first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to write the statement output is going to be equal to output, and I'll use the concatenation operator, quote, quote, with a space in between, plus convert dot toString, and then first num. Alright, well, the first thing that I want you to recall is from the video you noticed that the first num variable is going to end up containing all of the Fibonacci numbers in the Fibonacci series starting with 0. In fact, you saw over here that I started off with first num rather, equal to 0. That's the first Fibonacci number. So that's the one that I want to output to the screen. Well, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the variable output, which currently is equal to nothing. I'm going to add a space to it, and I'm also going to add, let me put the concatenation operator here, sorry about that. All right, I'm going to concatenate that with first num. Well, this is an integer, so let me convert it to a string so I can put it into the string. So at the end of this, you're basically going to get, let me put a comment here, a space and the first number of the Fibonacci series, which is this. Okay. Well, now let's go ahead and do our swapping as you saw in the video. So let's say that third num is going to equal to first num plus second num. And then first num is going to equal to second num is going to equal to third num rather. And then counter is going to equal to counter. I keep on saying equal. That's not correct. It's going to be assigned. All right, so here's what we're going to do. I've updated the output, so now it's equal to space and 0. Well, now I can determine what the third number of the Fibonacci series is. It's simply going to be the addition of the previous two numbers. Well, now that I know the third number, we're going to now swap so that the first number is going to be the second number is going to be the third number. Counter now has to increase. It was 1, now it's going to be 2. And so I go back to the while statement, asking, is 2 less than or equal to the user number? If it is, well then we'll take the output, which is currently this, and we're going to concatenate a space. So let me put a space after this. Boom, there it is, there's a space. And we're going to take first num. Well, remember, first num is now equal to whatever the second number is. Well, what was the second num? Second num was 1. So now we're going to see 1 as the output. Well, now that this is the case, third num is going to be the addition of these two. And then first num is going to be equal to whatever, or assigned whatever the second num is. Third num will be assigned to second number. Counter will now be increased by 1. And again, if that doesn't make any sense, look at the video, again, the first part of the video where I basically show you graphically how we're just basically doing swapping right here. Right, we're going to, by transferring the numbers, so actually I can even show you in the handout, right? So what we're doing is we're saying this, okay, this is first num, this is second num, this is going to be third num. Now this is going to be first num, second num, and third num. And then now this is going to be first num, second num, and third num. So first num, second num, and third num, they're moving, right? They're moving positions as we create more and more Fibonacci numbers. All right, well this code is what we need to be able to display all the Fibonacci numbers. That's it. So now we can go ahead and display the results, and so that's going to be LVL result.text is going to equal to whatever the output is. All right, so let's run the code. Let's see what happens. All right, here we are. So now let's say that I want to see one Fibonacci number. So I'll say display Fibonacci numbers, and 0 appears. That's correct. Let's say I want to see 2 Fibonacci numbers. Well, those are the first 2. Very good. Let's see the first 3 Fibonacci numbers. That's okay. Let's say I want to see 10 Fibonacci numbers. Okay, let's see if this is correct. So 0 plus 1 is 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. 1 plus 2 is 3. 2 plus 3 is 5. 3 plus 5 is 8. 5 plus 8 is 13. 8 plus 13 is 21. 13 plus 21 is 34. Excellent. And how many do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I have verified that I have 10 numbers, and I have also verified that they are 10 Fibonacci numbers. These are accurate numbers. Okay, so it looks like the program works. What I want to do now is I want to go step by step through this code to make sure that you understand how this thing works. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop the code right here at get the user input so that we can see step by step how this thing works. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is to place a break right here at this statement, and then I'm going to start debugging. All right, so let's say that I want to display the first 4 Fibonacci numbers. We'll go through this 4 times. I'll click display Fibonacci numbers, and the code is going to stop right here. Okay, we're going to take the text, which as you can see here is equal to 4. Let's assign that to the user number. So I'm going to click, step over, and now user number is equal to 4. Good. Let's start the counter equal to 1. The counter is like a lap counter on a slot car track, right, or on a racing track. It's going to count all the laps every time we loop through this thing. So first we start off with it equal to 1 after this statement. So step over, there it is, it's equal to 1 now. All right, here's the while statement. Is 1 less than or equal to 4? Yes, it is. So when I click step over, it's going to go into the while body, the loop body. Well, currently we're going to take the output, which is equal to quote, quote. That means nothing, it's blank. Well, in this case, output is going to be concatenated with a space, and it's going to be concatenated with the value of first num. So when I click step over, notice now that the output, as you can see over here, is space and then 0. Well, now third num is going to be equal to the first num and the second num. That's how we find the next number in the Fibonacci series. So when I click step over, you'll see that third num now is equal to 1 because 0 plus 1 is 1. Second num is going to be placed into first num. So you see over here, second num is equal to 1. That's going to be placed into the first num. So when I click step over, here it is. First num is now equal to 1. Second num now is going to be equal to whatever the third num is. Well, third num's already 1, but this one's going to go into here, so nothing's going to change there in terms of its value. Counter, as you can see, is equal to 1. It's about to be incremented by 1, so now counter is going to equal to 2. All right, let's go back to the top of the while statement and ask the question, is 2 less than or equal to 4? That's a true statement. So when I step over, it's going to go into the while loop body once again. Well, currently, as you can see over here, the output is equal to space and 0. We are about to take the old value, which is this, and update it with a concatenation of another space and the value of first num. So now, when I step over, notice what happens. The string is space 0, space 1. Okay, so now the value of third num is going to change. Third num is now going to be 2. Second num is now going to be 2. And counter is going to be 3. All right, so I go back to the top and ask the question, is 3 less than or equal to 4? Yes, it is. So I'm going to step through this code. Currently, the output, as you can see here, is 0 and 1. Well, now we're going to add first num to it, which is the number 1. So now when I step over, you can see that this is what I have displayed on my output so far. All right, so we're going to take the addition of these two. We're going to set second num to first num, third num to second num. We're going to increment counter to 4. So let me step through these really quickly. And so now at this point, you'll see that third num is equal to 3, second num is equal to 3, and first num is equal to 2, counter is equal to 4. So now I go back to the top of the while statement, asking the question, is 4 less than or equal to 4? Yeah, it's true. It is equal to. So in this case, we're going to go into the loop body once again. And now we're going to take the output, which is this, and we're going to concatenate that with the number 2. So when I step over, now you can see the number 2 is sent to the output. All right, so now we have new values for third number, for first number, for second number, and also for counter. So I go back to the top of the while statement and ask the question, is 5 less than or equal to 4? Well, that's not a true statement anymore. So at this point, notice what happens. When I click step over, we jump out of the while statement and we execute the next statement after the while block statement. So here's the while block statement right here. We are finished with that. And so the next thing to do is to send the output to the text property of the label, which currently is blank. So let me go ahead and click the continue button, and you can see what happens, right? 0, 1, 1, 2. They are in fact the first 4 Fibonacci numbers. All right, so let me stop the code and let me remove this breakpoint, and let's see what happens when I put in the number 20. Okay, so let me see the first 20 Fibonacci numbers. So I'll click this, and sure enough, it's working fine. You can verify that all these are in fact the Fibonacci numbers, the first 20 Fibonacci numbers. So I haven't set any restraints for the user in terms of how big of a number they could enter. I probably should do that because, as you can see, this is a huge exponential growth. It's going to get huge really fast, and so we're probably going to be running out of space really soon. But the most important thing is that the program works, and that I hope that you understand the concept of, first of all, what a Fibonacci number is and how we were able to use the while statement to display however many Fibonacci numbers the user wants to see. Okay, so this is Professor Robert Solis. I hope this video lesson has been helpful. Have a good day, and I'll see you next time.